What's up, what's up, what's up? This is your man, the STL Stranger, Umar Lee, for the St. Louis Speaks Podcast. We've had another wonderful year in 2019, and we're blessed to join you here in the city of St. Louis at the number one destination for St. Louis gear. They got St. Louis t-shirts. They got St. Louis artwork. They got St. Louis coffee mugs. They got St. Louis thongs. Whatever. Do they got St. Louis thongs?
Might be sold out, but yeah.
I just wanted to say thongs, so I mean, just
yeah.
forget my perverted mind, but whatever they have, whatever you need, STL Style has. You can be stylish and represent the city that we all love, St. Louis. So some of our guests are not here yet. I just interviewed Vervis Jones offline. That's going to be patched in. Producer extraordinaire Mark Lohr, historian, has provided the St. Louis style pizza, snacks. Louis is in the house. But before we get into all that, I want to take a moment of reflection. A moment to look and see where we are. You know, Thanksgiving was in November. But every day is a day for Thanksgiving, right? We just are not thankful on Thanksgiving. And I want to talk about something. A lot of times we're down on St. Louis. We just St. Louis. And you don't know the good thing you have until it's gone. It's like a relationship, right? Y'all are fighting, arguing, complaining against each other. Oh, you throw your socks on the floor. Oh, you know, you take too long in the shower. But then when you're single, right, you're like, damn, I guess I had a good thing, you know? St. Louis, one of the things we don't realize is we have 4 beautiful seasons. As I was driving through the night to get here to St. Louis, it was my sincere desire and my hope that there would still be snow on the ground in St. Louis. Because growing up in Texas, my daughter does not get to see snow. And of course, most of the snow has disappeared from our 2 days of snow. But when we got here, my aunt's small little front yard still had about half of the yard covered with snow. So we got out and we had a little snowball fight, right? And I told her, I said, I wish there was no more snow so we could go to Art Hill and go sledding. You know, when I was a kid, at my elementary school, there was a hill behind my school. We would take our sleds and go sledding at recess. You know, that was fun, right? Ice skating, all the great things associated with the winter. When we look at the fall, the beautiful colors, the foliage, right? You go through Forest Park, you go through the Shaw neighborhood, you go through Benton Park, right? You just notice these beautiful colors of nature. Even someone like me, I've never been like, oh, I love nature, oh, nature. Like, I've never wanted to go camping or none of that stuff. Like, I started hiking just for exercise, right? But I'm like, damn, man. Once you don't have that experience, you don't see that foliage, you don't see those beautiful colors, you just get, okay, it's hot, it's cold for 2 days, the leaves fall off, right? You miss that fall, right? Just like you miss that winter when it's gone. The spring, the beautiful spring of St. Louis, as the flowers begin to bloom. I mean, springtime is really a beautiful time in St. Louis. And then our summers, with all our summer traditions, it's hot and humid, but we're going to the Cardinals games or we're listening on the radio, and then we get our frozen custard at night, right? I mean, that St. Louis humidity and frozen custard go together. You know, and to be in a place where everything looks so cookie cutter and so new. And then you go and drive through the city of St. Louis, and you go into St. Louis Place, and you go to Lafayette Square, and you see those beautiful French-style houses. And you go into Soulard, you know, you see that architecture in Soulard. You go through the Shaw neighborhood. There's nothing like the Shaw neighborhood in Texas, right? And the streets tell stories. When I was a taxi driver in St. Louis, I would take people not on the highway on purpose because I had a story about every intersection. this happened here, this happened that. When I drive in downtown St. Louis and I see Union Station to my right, the first thing I think about is during World War II, my grandmother was living in Old North St. Louis. She got a job working at the old St. Louis Dairy, right? My grandfather got home. He was in the 1st Marine Division, which saw 2 of the bloodiest battles for America, the Battle of Palilu and Okinawa. I mean, if I can read a book about that now, called With the Old Companies. You know, the violence there was just insane, unreal, hand-to-hand combat, sword fights, just unbelievable. And he briefly alluded to all that stuff and all them little stories he told me. It's like, man, they're talking about it in this book. Not that he ever got into it too deep, but you know, it was there. And so he comes back. He works in St. Louis Dairy. My grandmother's struggling to take out the trash one day. He said, I can help you with that trash. 3 months later, they're married. 68 and a half years. They were married until my grandmother passed, and then my grandfather passed almost 2 years later. 2015, 2017. So that's what I think of. I think of that family history, right? When I go north of Market, when I go south of Market, it's all in my mind. You know, and being a place without that history, you feel kind of lost, right? You feel kind of like, you know, like my mother died last year. She never been to St. Texas ever in her whole life. My father said once as a little kid they were driving to California and they went through. I mean, if that really counts, right? You know what I'm saying? So to go somewhere where you have tons of family history, you go somewhere you got. You look at the St. Louis Cardinals. I don't know, 130 years old, something like that, 140 years old. 11 World Series championships. You know, it's not bandwagon fans, right? It's people, you know, when I'm a kid, I hear my grandpa talking about going to see Stan Musial at Sportsman's Park, how he used to bounce those doubles out the outfield wall, you know? And that's their connection. I was living in Brooklyn, in New York, Brownsville Projects. There was 2 bodegas right by my place. There was an Arab-owned bodega and a Dominican. The Arab one, I'd go in and speak to Arabic with them sometimes. But the Dominican one, when you walked in, they had a big poster of Albert Pujols. You know? And so I'd go in there and talk about the Cardinals. And he was a Cardinals fan because somehow, like, I don't know, like, they weren't related, but like they were kind of like from the same little town or something like that, right? So Cardinals fans are generational. This is how thick St. Louis runs.
Oh, yeah.
This is how thick. We saw it in the Stanley Cup playoffs. In Dallas, Ezekiel Elliott, star running back for the Dallas Cowboys, who, by the way, how about them Cowboys? Not making the playoffs. But star running back. He's in his city where he's making millions of dollars. And the Blues are playing the Dallas Stars in the playoffs. And he's proudly wearing the Blues jersey. Then the Blues make it to the Stanley Cup Finals, right? And they play the Boston Bruins. And the star for the Boston Celtics is who? Jason Tatum, another St. Louis kid. And Jason Tatum is proudly repping the Blues in Boston. You know, Boston are like Philly. They're fanatical sports fans. That's how thick that St. Louis love and attachment. There's a corner store in Dallas right now in the hood, 8th and Corinth. You go in there, you get Best Soda, Red Hot Rippers, Emos every day. You go to Arlington, Texas, you can get special order St. Louis style Chinese food. That's how deep this attachment to St. Louis. When you go to the comment section of the Dallas Morning News, of the Kansas City Star, of the Cleveland Plain Dealer, of Cincinnati Enquirer, you go on and on and on. They don't have the kind of vibrant and lively comment section that St. Louis has. Okay? You go to Donnybrook, a show on PBS that's been on there, Channel 9, been on for over 30 years. And I've been watching from the beginning. I mean, so many of them have died, so I've been watching. I mean, Rich Coster, Martin Dugan, Ann Keefe, Nan Wyatt, Greg Freeman, you know, remember all these people that were on it. I mean, I used to watch it with my grandma. Me and my grandma were tight like this, you know what I'm saying? And she used to watch it, you know what I'm saying? And we'd watch it together. And she'd get on the phone and call Bill McClellan if she disagreed with it, right? And I've been watching since the beginning.
Yeah.
They'll tell you, they've tried to start that same type of program in other cities. They cannot start that program because there's not that kind of interest. So what I'm conveying to you is St. Louis is a special city. We are a special city. It's a special people.
You're preaching to the choir.
And we should recognize that. You know what I'm saying? Our tap water, you go to some cities, you have to buy bottled water. St. Louis tap water tastes like Instagram model.
When Francis gets here, make the panel happen.
Yeah. So I'm bloviating, talking shit right now. I got Jeff Vines, Daniela Velasquez, and Matt Schmitz in the background. But once everybody in the panel gets here, we'll start talking. My daughter Ossie is around here somewhere. I think she's playing with a cat right now or something. And we'll get started. So in the meantime, I got two people right here. We're going to talk about this shit right now. Okay. So we got Daniela right here. And so this is like a St. Louis celebrity. I mean, she's done a lot. She worked for the ACLU. She's done a lot of community. Yeah, she's done a lot of community engagement work.
Anybody have an SUV?
Across the street?
You're not talking about my car, are you?
Yeah, but do you have a St. Louis flag sticker on it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's yours beeping. I didn't see any commotion or.
Can
you check on my car?
I mean, it just went off.
Right, but just make sure when nobody.
There's a guy out there, so.
I said tequila.
Oh, nice.
I'm not the best at like hustle.
It's gonna be great.
Yeah,
Hey,
just make sure like nobody's broken the car or something like that. So anyway, Daniela Velasquez. She's with a communications firm right now, but she used to be with the ACLU. And she's a general out and about community person. She's a graduate of, hold on, I'm gonna get this wrong. Parkway South, Central,
Lafayette.
West.
Marquette.
Do I seem that West County?
No, you told me West County. I just can't remember what school.
Marquette.
Marquette.
Oh, that's what you started with?
She's a graduate of Marquette.
Home of the three-legged
Jeff's a
Mustang.
graduate of Parkway North. Right?
Yeah, class of '97.
Everything's good. No
Is it the one right there?
No, I'm on the side of the building.
Oh, yeah, no, it wasn't it.
Yeah, I'm not trying to stereotype you, Jeff,
No,
as a baby boomer. As a Generation X Jewish guy. I'm not trying to put you in Parkway North.
It's okay.
I could have easily said,
Man, you can go up there and.
you know, what's the school you go to in Valley Park?
If you have to go.
Rockwood Summit?
I don't know anything about
Rockwood
that.
Summit.
Valley Park?
Rockwood Summit. I know they got a big hello chapter at Rockwood Summit. But, you know,
Yeah.
so,
Well, not many Jewish kids from Parkway North were riding the bi-state bus to Washington Avenue in 1995, like Randy and I were.
you guys were trendsetters.
Yeah.
You guys were trendsetters.
We just, I mean, what you said in your intro about St. Louis, that's how we've always felt. We couldn't have done it any better than you did. But
Let me tell you something, man.
What
One of the great things about the Vines brothers
I don't need that kind of.
is the civic pride that they have. You know, because me, I'm a natural pessimist, right? Like Matt Schmidt, I'm a natural pessimist, right? You know, you have some great enthusiasm, optimism, legalization of marijuana, right? That's a big issue for you, right?
Indeed.
Indeed, right.
You mean that's illegal?
Okay. Well, I always tell people, like, I have no intention to follow the law anyways. I don't really pay attention to the law, but
I haven't smoked pot in at least 30 minutes.
yeah. So the Vines brothers, they have this St. Louis enthusiasm, and that's important. That's important to bring that spirit of unity. So sometimes I look at them and I feel like shit. Like, hey man, I'm down. Just like when I'm looking at Daniela Velasquez doing her, what do you do? The
Powerless?
power lifts. Like, damn man. See, I got this.
Stay on her good side.
I got this. This is just for show on my fucking keychain. This gym membership. because I never go. You know, like I was really going when I didn't have cable television. You know, like you go there and watch the game on the treadmill, put it like really slow, and just kind of watch the game. Once I got cable, it was all downhill, man. You know what I'm saying? So everyone has the positives, and Matt Schmidt is a lawyer. I love lawyers. I've really donated a lot of money to your profession. so thank you for keeping me out of jail, and I really appreciate that. Have you ever kept me out of jail or no?
I don't think so.
Okay. I've had so many. I'm like a womanizer but with lawyers. So yeah, I'm a lawyerizer. Yeah.
I don't actually remember all my clients. I did about 100 people after Ferguson, so you might have been there.
I wish my dating life was as active as my lawyer life. I'd have a lot more interesting life. So we're going to go around the table right now, and Francis is going to join us in a minute. Hopefully, we'll start Jeff Barnes, and we'll go Daniela.
Okay.
We'll go around.
How close do I have to get to this? Is it picking up?
Well, here's the thing: is we're eventually going to pause so that Francis can put the new thing on. We won't have to pass the mic away.
Okay.
Around.
So we're passing the mic right now.
Oh, okay. So we're passing.
Well, everybody just kind of talk loud.
Oh,
Alright.
he was here, and then he's going to go get some.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he'll be back.
So we're going to start with Jeff.
Pass the mic.
Yeah.
What's your biggest St. Louis news story for 2019?
Well, the first one that comes to mind, I guess, is the one that everyone loves to make fun of, is the Loop Trolley debacle.
I love making fun.
I mean,
of
that kind of started and ended in 2019,
Right.
So, you know, it's kind of sad because, you know, in theory, I would love to see the Loop put the Loop back onto Delmar. That's how the street grew up, and you know, I think a lot of the arguments about it, you know, like people, like the cyclists getting their bike tires stuck in the rails, I think that's kind of frivolous. You know, it's like, well, we had streetcar tracks all over the city, and there are streetcar tracks all over the world in European cities. They figured it out. You know, you can't blame someone falling off their bike on the streetcar. You know, people learn to live with it. But there were so many other things. You know, the whole thing was dumbed down so much that it had no chance of success, I think.
So that's your big local. What's your big national story?
My big national story would be Trump. You know,
Trump. What about his hairdo?
I just think like I feel really defeated in a way because I just see the writing on the wall. Like he is going to be, you know, acquitted in the Senate, and he will feel vindicated, and he will be even more emboldened, and be twice as much, you know, of a maniac in his second term, because I don't see at this point, you know, I don't see the Democrats overcoming this Republican, you know, fervency, is that a word? But,
Now, we're going to have a rule. Whatever story he put, Loop Trolley, Trump, can't be repeated.
Oh, I got other ones.
Can't be repeated. Okay. So we're going to have different stories.
Well, unless somebody says his big thing, right?
Well, right. I'm sure it'll be mentioned first.
Okay. Daniela, what's the
Okay.
big story of the year?
Local story first?
I love the story first.
There's so many. I was just trying to think. Like I should have done some research before I got here because now I can't even remember.
I always feel put on the spot.
Yeah, you were first. I kind of want to say, since we were talking about it, it's either police or Better Together. I can't really decide. Because I think
They're related.
Well, they are related. And Stanger, that was a big one too.
Yeah,
Wow.
that was a
Stinger.
I feel
Catching
like
up on
Stanger
three.
might be the biggest local story.
Yeah. Steve Zinger, who was the former St. Louis County executive,
Right.
now incarcerated.
Right.
How long did he get? Like 4 years or something like that?
I think 4 years.
4 years.
And he pled guilty, which means that
Pled guilty.
to me that there's so much more that.
I'm a little unsatisfied by that whole thing, by the way, because I think more people should have went to jail.
Well, let's be clear. Rallo has extended his sentencing several times now, which means he's still talking to them.
Okay.
We're still looking at 7 sealed indictments here, so this story isn't over.
That's why you got a lawyer on the panel.
Right.
And what's your big national story?
Big national story. I think what's happening with the border, particularly, it's hard to keep everything straight. Like everything is Trump related, but just I think the fact that they're not, the kids are dying and they're not vaccinating them. You know, that nobody's getting their basic medical care or vaccinations. And I saw somebody not to start off this year reviewing something dark. No, but it was like somebody mentioned that Anne Franklin actually died of, like, she died of cholera, right? And so thinking about how much, you know, it's the same kind of. One of my favorite Mark Twain quotes is, "History doesn't repeat itself, but it sure does rhyme."
Oh.
Ironically, being from Missouri, so he kind of feels like he knows.
And shouts out to the St. Louis activists. I know Rory Pickeness. I know Mama Cat. A few others who went down to the border. Liz Vega and some other people. I just want to throw in a personal thing on that. You say cholera. I mean, Diary of Anne Frank, of course, is a classic. So was Love in the Time of Cholera. And I read that entire book, and I got to like the last 20 pages. And I went to Dar Hijra Mosque in the suburbs of D.C., which has been nicknamed the 9/11 Mosque. You can Google that. I'm not going to get into it now. And there was time for prayers, and I put the book down. And the book got stolen while I was praying.
Wow.
So I don't know the ending of the book. Don't know
To
the
be
ending.
continued.
To be continued.
Wow.
Took all the, just a gut punch.
That's a hard book to get through because I've tried to read that book like 3 times.
I thought it was a great book.
I have not tried to read it.
By the way, Dominicana, Angie Cruz, great book. Every time I read a book, I got a whole list of books, by the way. Anybody want any book recommendations? I got a long list. Matt Schmidt, Attorney General of the podcast tonight.
Mark, make sure there's no text messages from Francis.
Okay.
Is there any text messages on there?
Hello, I'm on here. Wow. I would say that the top local story was that the St. Louis City Police Department has murdered 8 people this year, and they haven't generated any sort of systemic protests. So I think that we've moved into a world where the movement and energy from Ferguson has been completely co-opted, diverted, destroyed in some cases, and you know, the new chief is a lot less overtly antagonistic than the previous ones. They sort of say all the right things on the scene. They contain it. They talk to the media in a certain way. So basically, I think the big story is that that's not a bigger story, and that they're sort of getting away with it.
How much of that do you think is tied to a lot of people, and I'll put myself in this category, that, you know, have some enthusiasm for our new prosecutors in St. Louis City and County, Kim Gardner and Wesley Bell, and thinking that maybe we have another avenue?
That may be something, you know.
Yeah.
But I think the 8 number is high, so if the goal of any sort of reform movement was to reduce the number of people being killed by the police, it's objectively failed.
Mark, what did you say Matt Schmidt was on from day one?
Huh?
What did you say he was on for, you know, he was really on top of? He was giving you creep? Airport.
Yeah, sure. No, I was the treasurer for SDL Not For Sale, and we just won a major victory on Friday as the mayor shut down the process.
From the bottom of her heart, she just really changed her mind. And just,
Yeah, well, I mean, I think people should take seriously the things she said, because she said 3 things.
yeah.
She said that community pressure got to her. In particular, she talked about going to a lot of neighborhood events.
Right.
She said that other elected officials mattered to her, which I sort of take as the Board of Aldermen and maybe the fact that sort of
I see it.
all of our state reps and senators who came out, took a position one way or the other, came out against privatization, and Representative Clay. And then, you know, she sort of talked about local business leaders, which I assume is just code for her donor class. And then there was like an anonymous leak later, which sort of had to be Conway, because the way he was talking about her donors, saying that they are more or less split. So I don't know. I sort of think that those are all pressure points on her. I think in particular, I was sort of behind the scenes doing vote counting on the Board of Aldermen. We had a better idea than was reported in the popular press how various people were going to vote on it. And it became clear to me a couple months ago that they just couldn't get the thing through the Board of Aldermen.
Yeah, it just was going nowhere. There was just too much community opposition.
Yeah, and I think that, if anything, why is she going to keep doing this when she knows she's going to lose with the board? Why keep fighting this? It's devouring her administration. So I think that's probably the biggest reason. But I take her for her word. Those were 3 sources of pressure.
Can you see Ossie? My daughter. See over there. Ossie. Good.
Yeah,
in there.
Playing with the cat. Okay. I just got to keep tabs. Keep tabs. So what is your big national story?
I'd say, I sort of agree, the Trump focus on it, whatever, but I would say that a big consequence that a lot of Americans aren't following is that the collapse of the international order because of the leadership at the top. So that sort of has repercussions from encouraging Turkey to take a more authoritarian streak because they can just bribe the president.
Right.
To the fact that China is now back to burning coal at levels they were before Obama, pushed them
And the
to-
Uyghur issue.
Exactly. Like there's nobody sort of running things, and I think the big consequence of that is that we've pretty obviously lost the fight for climate change.
Randy Vines, one half of the Vines brothers,
The better half.
top tag team in South St. Louis.
No.
Right there with the Mulkey brothers. So, what's your big local story of the year?
Well, I was going to say the airport privatization debacle, but Matt covered that so eloquently, and he's much more knowledgeable. But I think that was a big one, and also a kudos to those who were working on the front lines to defeat that very flawed initiative. But local, beyond that, I would say, I think Planned Parenthood in St. Louis has been at the forefront of a great deal of controversy. It's, I'm a historic preservationist at heart, so when buildings are endangered, my alert is up. And then same with rights, civil rights, women's rights, equal rights. And I think that the state of Missouri is relentless in their attack on individual freedom, and I think that St. Louis is kind of like front and center of this very dichotomous moment in the state where the urban-rural divide and the left versus the right, all of these things collide here. And I think that Forest Park Parkway in Boyle is kind of ground zero for that conversation.
Let me just add in a totally irrelevant Planned Parenthood moment. So the Popeye's chicken craze that's going on? Popeye's chicken sandwich?
Yeah, no, I'm waiting for the connection.
Yeah.
This is a
So, when the sandwich first comes out, I mean, it's like cars out the streets, the lobbies are jam-packed, but I found one in the suburbs of Dallas. Bam, I was with my daughter, bam. We walked right to the counter.
There's all kind of
We got
tech ones.
chicken sandwich.
That you
It's all
can-
good.
you can pick up. But yeah,
So remember they ran out, and they came back, I guess, a couple months later with the sandwich, right?
before
So we
the-
went back.
So
We get to the parking lot. I notice it's jam-packed, right?
we grab something to eat though.
And I look at the parking lot. It's in like the corner of a strip mall. And that strip mall has several churches, a liquor store, a Planned Parenthood, and a Popeye's chicken.
What else do you need?
And,
Sounds like Venice, Illinois.
and in front of it, there's pro and anti-abortion protest, right? You know what I'm saying? They're going at it. I was like, man, this is too much. I just want a fucking sandwich, right? You know what I'm saying? And then we're in Texas, and I see all these maniac bumper stickers all the time with guns, and this and that. I'm not an anti-gun. I'm from St. Louis. I'll put a bullet in your ass quick. You know what I'm saying? But
Not me.
But yeah, he's the peaceful guy. What I'm saying is the they got this fetishization of guns there, whatever the word is. You know what I'm talking about? Fetishization. Yeah, of guns there. I mean, it's everywhere. These crazy bumper stickers, and Texas this, Texas that, Texas that. So I see a guy in line to get chicken, and he's got a bumper sticker that says the Squad, Bernie. I mean, just
Far left.
I mean, he's a walking Twitter thing, right? You know what I'm saying? And so I take a picture I like to take pictures of bumper stickers, right? You know, put on Instagram. I'm not gonna put his license plate. I just put the bumper stickers, right? This guy starts yelling. I see what's there. My daughter's there. He says, "Yeah, did you fucking take a picture of my bumper stickers?" I said, "Oh yeah, you know, I just got a thing. You know, I put them on Instagram. It's no big deal. You know, I'm not gonna put." He said, "You fucking took a picture of my." I said, "Hey man, you're in public. The whole world can
Because
see
he
your bumper stickers."
obviously doesn't want them to be seen.
Right. You want people to see your bumper stickers. Right. He said, "You have no right." I said, "Man, fuck you." Da, 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 da. We start arguing, yelling about his bumper stickers.
Well, I mean, did you get a chance to like say, hey, you know, we probably have a lot of the same ideas?
Nah, fuck that. I wanted to drag him out of the car and kick his ass. But the thing is,
See, actually, I thought the story was going where
Right.
like people, you were gonna find people in the parking lot pro and anti, you know, pro-choice and anti-choice, like breaking bread over Popeye. Like,
Oh,
chicken
yeah.
sandwich.
That could have
That's
happened.
what I
The
thought
common
was where
thread.
this was
that
gonna
could have
go.
happened. But the funny thing is, I was trying to picture, but they had the pro-life dog, but they had a mascot.
What's it called?
Because dogs are pro-life.
He's got a mascot. It's not so like
Because
that.
dogs
So,
give a fuck.
yeah. So.
Well, yeah, that's. I also have a problem with appropriating political agendas on
Dogs.
pets and other, you know.
Is that cat in there? Is that cat Republican or
Children's
Democrat?
health.
Our Frankie is a super far left liberal.
Yeah.
You know, she's lived on Cherokee Street her whole life.
Yeah.
So
She
she's
doesn't
like,
know anything else.
right. It's
Feel-
like
feel the burn,
she's a
right?
product of her environment, right?
Francis.
Wait, you didn't ask me my national.
What's your national story?
So my national is, I think, the splintered Democratic Party, and what this means, what this moment in our history and our political times means for the future of dialogue in general.
Is there any water in the building?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Water.
What would you like? Water?
Water, please.
I'll get you some water.
Thanks. Water. I mean, people don't realize. Like I said, St. Louis tap water tastes like Instagram models. I'm telling you, this is the best water. You go to Texas water,
You don't drink.
tastes like toxic nuclear waste.
Orlando water tastes
Are we
like.
taking
Oh,
a break to
Florida's
rearrange these things here?
I feel like we're taking a break.
are we?
Are we
I
taking?
was
Are
just
we taking a
trying
break?
to- trying to
Are you
fix
guys good on the
Oh.
Well,
audio?
we're waiting to. I'm gonna install a speaker on the desktop, and
I don't
then
know how we.
Okay,
Okay,
let's take an intermission. Everybody get your refreshments.
Pause.
Get your juju beans and your thin mints and your licorice.